Go ahead and record. All right. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, what a cold open that's gonna be.
I know, true.
All right.
My fellow Americans, I'd like to welcome you to the 36%.
Welcome to 36% this week with Brett and Adam. My name is Brett.
And I'm Barack Obama. It is nice to bring you here to the pod today. Brett did not know that I would be appearing on this show. Adam, thank you so much for having me. Oh, no problem, Obama. That's what we're here for. Thank you. So, to start things off, it's the 5th episode of the 36% with Brett and Adam. And I'd like to thank Michelle for letting me out of the house today. So, on this episode, we will be talking about, to start things off, the Canadian legalization of pot, the ice raids, Interpol, the gubernatorial races in Florida, Wisconsin, and Kansas. And then our political science topic today is going to be realism, and Russia, and Saudi Arabia, and China, and all of my former adversaries. So, shout out to Malia, and all right, enough of that.
President Obama, you give shouts out just like Adam. It's crazy. And we all wonder why I edit the podcasts. Well, without much further ado, y'all heard the former president. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Thank God.
All right. So our first topic today on the pod is going to be Canada and recent legalization of pot.
Oh, Canada. I don't know the rest of it. Yeah, big old maple leaf on the flag.
I was watching a NASCAR race. You can believe it. And
You watching a NASCAR race? I can hardly believe it.
no, it was in New England, but they started it off with the Canadian national anthem.
Are there Canadians in the race?
I don't think so.
I would certainly hope so. I don't know why else New England would be playing the Canadian national anthem. It seems a little unpatriotic of them.
Well, then they did the American national anthem.
No, still.
And granted, the
Which one did they do first? Hold on, it's
the Canadian
important.
one. But the singer, granted,
What the
had
hell?
an American flag stuffed partly in her pocket.
Well, that's just racist, to be honest.
It was a very strange thing.
Wow.
to say the least.
NASCAR. Un-American? Click on this pod to find out. I think we just got a title for the episode. Is NASCAR un-American? Question mark? Yeah, that'll be a great first episode to get on Spotify.
Right. So, anyways,
Yeah. This week, what are we talking about, Adam?
we're going to talk about Canada and the legalization of pot.
Right. That's how we got into all this.
So,
Yeah, Canada legalized pot.
they
It's
did it.
pretty open and closed story.
The second country to fully legalize the recreational use of cannabis.
Adam, can you tell me what the first country was? It was Venezuela back in like 2011. Yeah, it shocked me too. Because I looked this up because this whole ballot initiative or referendum, whatever it was, however Canada decided to do this, they announced it like at the beginning of the year. It was a long time ago when it came out. Maybe not at the beginning of the year. Maybe it was a couple months ago. But I remember like all the articles were like the second country, and I was expecting it to be like the Netherlands or Denmark or somewhere. It's like
Someplace
nope,
We just think of when being,
yeah, no, just Venezuela.
Huh.
I guess they're just like, we'll just let our citizens do whatever. I mean, none of them can afford food, but if they want to smoke pot, go for it.
Yeah, it's like North Korea.
But in terms of being able to eat food, I think Canada, I mean, we've seen the experiments. Colorado was, of course, the first big experiment in the legalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
And recreational marijuana, yeah. And, we've seen them benefit tremendously from it. I know a lot of the tax base that they derive from it goes towards educational programs, which is, from what I've seen in states that have attempted to kind of lay it out, Kansas and Missouri included in this, is usually the pitch for it is, hey, our schools are suffering because LOL, states in the Midwest especially, love to underfund public school systems. I mean, across America, but here too. So a big selling point is, hey, look, the marijuana, it's good for the kids.
Exactly. I mean, it's a lot like the lottery, but it actually works in that regard.
It is a lot like the lottery, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, so medical marijuana has been legal in Canada since 2001,
Mm-hmm.
and it is legal in quite a few states. And one of the reasons we thought of bringing this up is, as Brett mentioned, there's a lot of ballot initiatives this year in all of the 2018 races for either medical, usage of marijuana or legalization.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have, I neither of us have it pulled up of which states have this, but I know Missouri is one of them. And to our knowledge, to all of our Missouri listeners out there, vote yes on Weed Amendment 2.
Do your research, because I don't know which one to advocate for. Adam likes to. Okay.
The second one's the good
Adam
one.
claims the second one's the good one.
But I know that, I mean, it's not like the first or third one hurt.
Yeah, but only one of them can pass. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive that, like, however it's constructed, only one of them, like whichever of the three get the most votes are gonna. I don't know, but people were making a big hullabaloo about it because like there's 3 ballot initiatives and we can only have one of them. And I'm like,
Well, vote for number 2.
why is it? Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but I didn't write the law. No, I think with all the ballot initiatives, I mean, as Adam mentioned, we don't have them all pulled up right now, but it really does illustrate, you know, the changing attitude towards recreational marijuana or just marijuana in general.
Yeah.
I don't think Missouri or Kansas are quite ready to make the broad enough leap to go full recreational. Yeah, I mean, I think the citizens certainly are, but the government, I don't think, is yet. So, you know, being able to research it, allowing the CDC to actually conduct experiments on it is a great first step. And, you know, I think we could see some big things here in the next couple of years. Who knows? Maybe we'll even see full-blown legalization across the entire nation. Maybe Canada will be a leader to us. You know, we followed their example so well in immigration policy and healthcare. Maybe we'll follow them on cannabis, too. Maybe.
Maybe. I hope so. Cool.
Oh, start the immigration now. So what's next?
All right, so moving on to our second topic.
Cool.
We're going to talk about the current ICE raids, the one that happened the other day in Texas,
Yeah.
and how that's affecting the economy.
Yeah.
And, well, first off, I think we could quickly dive into how we feel about ICE.
Let's do a quick dive.
Yes.
Quick ice bath, if you will.
Ooh.
That was not good.
Right. So, Brett, should we abolish ICE?
So the popular progressive standpoint right now is yes, we should.
Oh, man.
And you know, I don't disagree with that sentiment. I really don't. But this gets to a point that I'm going to make here in a minute. That's we should probably not be so quick to cut the head off the snake because the ecosystem depends on the snake to be there. So maybe we should just take its teeth away instead of cutting its head off. I think we need a more comprehensive immigration policy. I think it's wrong to say immigrants because they're here, even if they are here without legally being here. I don't think it's right to just kick them out. It's a big ass country. We are dependent on immigrant labor in manufacturing and agriculture. And this policy right now of round up everyone that's here legally and kick them out of the country is not a healthy practice. Either it's not a healthy practice democratically, it's not a healthy practice economically, and it's morally the atrocious thing to do. So should we abolish ICE? We should abolish every aspect of ICE that deals with rounding up people like they're cattle and shipping them to places where they're almost certain to be even more impoverished than they already are, or even worse, die. So we should definitely clean up ICE, is my shortest answer I could possibly give on that. Adam, how do you feel?
I feel very similarly. I don't think we should abolish it outright, but I think we should fire without benefits every single individual that has abused the powers of ICE to create this weaponized bureaucracy by which deports people that have absolutely no memory of the country by which they were born in.
Yeah.
And it's messed up as hell. It really, like the other day I saw a story of this 4-month-old individual she was 6 months old. And she was sent back to some Central American country. And her father didn't even know about it, like that she was taken or sent back until she landed there. And
was he in the States or was he here?
I think he was here.
Okay, wow.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's absolutely horrible. That reminds me of another story of where they had the 4 or 5-year-old who showed up in court. She signed her own paperwork to show up in court.
Yeah. Oh, okay, immigration court is something we could also touch on quickly.
Well, yeah, I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, because it's the only court by which you do not need, is legally not mandated to have representation of a legal official.
Right.
So part of the Constitution doesn't apply there because they're usually the people in this court would not be considered citizens.
Mm-hmm.
However, it also does allow people as young as 2 years old to represent themselves in court.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We should never expect anyone under the age of 18 to be able to represent themselves in court effectively.
And I think it brings up one of the big questions around this, because this is a practice that's been going on for a long time. I know at the very least it was happening under the W. Bush administration. It's happening under the Obama administration, of this practice of having individuals come before the judicial system of this country and essentially not be treated as American citizens, which a lot of people say obviously they're not American citizens, or they're not given the same protections that American citizens are given in the judicial process. And there's two really big arguments there of, okay, yes, they're not citizens. However, the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment does not mention American citizens. It says all persons in the states. All persons in the states. And, of course, there's been a lot of academic and judicial debate over what exactly that constitutes and whether or not these people have rights. We have a lot of problems with that immigration court system. We just don't have enough judges. We don't have enough bureaucrats to help the system run smoothly. And so maybe it's a couple stones down the river. I don't know what kind of metaphor that is, but we're a couple steps away from getting to the whole let's guarantee rights for everybody, though I think it should be something that we're more focused on. Definitely. That's the word. Yeah. What a great way to start this podcast. By the world's I can't even justify that metaphor. I don't know how it made any sense. But to kind of touch a little bit more on the ICE raids that are happening. Obviously, we have talked about some of the most obvious flaws of this system, but there are so many more. There's so many more. So many things that are wrong with the immigration system. But these ICE raids, I wanted to spend a minute to talk about, because obviously ICE is a very divisive issue. Its presence and the actions that it's been taking, sanctuary cities, all these hot button words that surround the topic of immigration and how we talk about it right now. ICE is a big part of that, and these raids are a big part of it. A lot of people support it. A lot of people are very against it. It's very popular among Trump's base, among Republicans who genuinely believe that immigrants should be rounded up and thrown out of the country. However, and this kind of gets back to unsustainable economic practices, we are a country that very strongly depends on immigrant labor in agriculture and in manufacturing. And so when you round up 140 welders in a trailer making manufacturing plant down in Texas, well, guess what? If you as an individual, Adam, want to continue to buy trailers at a reasonable price, you are depending on these highly skilled immigrants, who are these welders, who are willing to take huge pay cuts. Their American counterparts will not be willing to work for as little as they are. So instead, we have people, get all the immigrants out of the country. But you don't want that product that's made in America, because that product that's made in America, and I'm using air quotes here, not even physically, but using air quotes that are heavily implied, that product that's made in America is going to cost you somewhere between 6, 7, 8 times as much. And people don't realize that. They just want the optics of these are American jobs made by American people. They just forget that Americans also come with all of these rights guaranteed in the 14th Amendment. They have to be paid a certain amount of money for their skills and labor. So I don't know. It's frustrating. You want to bang your head against a wall. Say this is so obviously it's inappropriate ethically and it's inappropriate economically. But, no one's asking us our opinions on these things now, are they?
Nope, not exactly. That's something that I was always that's important to understand about immigration, is that illegal immigrants contribute a ton to our economy, and yet they don't receive any of the benefits of Social Security, benefits of any kind. They're often paid under the table in cash, which, and a lot of these people in that regard, will pay taxes on some of their income.
Yeah, some of them will voluntarily report taxes, their income.
Especially if it's the higher the paying the job, the more important it is for those individuals for the businesses to mask their, in some form of taxes and pay in that regard. And so you see with that, there's this narrative of that immigrants cost American jobs. They hurt the economy. They take benefits.
They took our jobs.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen.
Not right now.
Especially,
Not in a booming economy.
Exactly, and so you especially see that with really high manual labor, partly semi to unskilled labor, and in jobs that would be very undesirable to
Yeah.
Americans.
They're line workers in the beef processing plants. They're the ones out in the fields actually working the soil in these big corporate farms. And yeah, they're the welders. Even then, these examples, high skilled welders that are willing to take huge pay cuts because LOL, they can find a job here, and we're punishing them for that.
Yeah, another aspect of this is the fact that none of them are able to join unions.
It's true.
And I think with the destruction of unions...
Yeah, I was going to say, what unions do they have left to join at this point?
Exactly. Well, that's another thing, is that with the destruction of unions in this country, it has taken away the ability and the desire for citizens to actually go into some of these practices. And this is all just one hell of an example of the reason by which we need comprehensive immigration reform in this country, and why I think the American people will wake up in 24 days, something, until the election.
It's like 18.
Is it 18?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You see what happens when Adam sleeps in.
It's coming. It's coming real soon.
Oh yeah.
Get those absentee ballots in, folks. Make sure you go vote on November 6th. Yeah, I mean, immigration, this is something we've been debating about for decades now. I mean, it goes back, again, to at least the W. Bush years, maybe into the H.W. Bush years. This weird, ethereal concern that hordes of immigrants are pouring over our borders. Only from the South. Notice we're not concerned about Canadian immigrants, though they're the ones that are taking the high-paying jobs. Maybe we're concerned about them overstaying their visas and stuff. Yeah, just,
really
yeah.
To our next topic, which is going to be the gubernatorial races going on across this country.
Oh, Jesus. Yes.
Woo-hoo. So we're going to focus on just 3, but we'll consistently do this up until the election. So we have
We have like one more episode to the election,
well,
yeah.
Our next one will cover more.
Yeah.
But our first one we're going to talk about is the race in Florida, a good old panhandle state.
I don't think that's their slogan. What's their
Sunshine.
Sunshine State?
Sunshine.
Is that California?
No.
Or is that Florida?
Florida's the sunshine.
What the hell is California the Golden State?
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yes, it is. Right.
Too many states.
There's,
Let's have fewer.
I see. I think we need more. Here's the time by which I advocate for Puerto Rico.
Okay, but how are you going to fit 51 stars on that flag, son?
How did we fit 50?
It's an even number.
We
It
started
works.
with 13.
You divide it
We got
evenly.
back.
Yeah, but then it was in a circle. No one liked that. Didn't make any sense. It was really aesthetically unappealing. I'm saying 50's good. Let's just here's the deal. Here's the deal. We kick out Alabama. We bring in Puerto Rico.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Let one of them secede. Just like chill.
I think what we really should do is we should dissolve the border between Alabama and the state north of it.
Let's just make the South one entire state. They get 2
perfect.
senators, and
Oh,
we get the
that's
rest of
genius.
them. There you go. See, always thinking.
There we go.
Always
I like
thinking here
this.
at the 36%.
You know what we should also do? We should reimpose the aspect of the 1964 Civil Rights Act that makes it so the federal government has to approve every provision that southern states propose to limit voter registration or voter turnout or voter ability to fucking vote.
Wow, we could pivot and we could make this section about voting rights if you want.
suppression?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can definitely do
You know
that.
what? Let's get into it.
Okay. So for this section, we're going to spend some time talking about active voter suppression, especially in the South.
Georgia.
Just elsewhere. Yeah, really. Georgia's been setting a great example for us lately, giving us a lot of content to work with.
Oh, yeah.
So as the story runs, Stacey Abrams is running against the Secretary of State in Georgia, whose name I forget. It's like, I almost want to say Ben Hurst or something. It sounds right to me. Anyway, Stacey Abrams is running against the Georgia Secretary of State. And there's been pretty widespread proof that the Georgia Secretary of State, who, keep in mind, that states' Secretary of States are the ones who are in charge of everything related to polling and electioneering. So it's become pretty evident that this gentleman, Brian Kemp is his name. Brian Kemp. Yep, it came to me. There's a message from on high. It came to me. Brian Kemp has been actively working in the face of pretty substantial evidence that he's going to lose this election to suppress a lot of votes. So, Adam, can you kind of give us the quick summary of what voter suppression is and give us a quick rundown of how that might work?
Yeah, so voter suppression is the South's favorite pastime.
Ooh.
How that occurs, basically, and what it is the limiting of individuals from their right to be enfranchised.
That doesn't sound legal. Adam, tell me more.
Well, for a long period of time it was, and that was called...
Present day.
Well, yeah, it was a practice that the South used to suppress African American votes.
Mm-hmm.
It did this for a long time, but all of that changed when the 1964 Civil Rights Act was passed. And what that did was it made like ballot poll or like polls, like poll taxes,
Mm-hmm.
literacy tests,
Mm-hmm.
and other forms of voter suppression, like grandfather clauses, all
Yeah.
of that illegal.
It fought a bunch of the Jim Crow laws that were
Yeah.
in practice.
And what that did was it made it so the South couldn't stop black people from registering to vote,
Mm-hmm.
from voting, and all of that.
Mhm. Now, why would they be interested in suppressing the black vote?
Well, because large amounts of the Southern population is African American
Mhm.
and doesn't vote with the white majority down there. Yeah,
What?
which is crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy stuff. But basically, also real quick, literacy tests are not what they sound like, because we think, oh, people know how to read, but that's not what those are. They're actually, you can look these up. The Alabama one is a really great example, but they're just giant lists of different questions. And how that works is when you go to register to vote, how it used to be, you'd show up to your courthouse, you'd go to your local, election official, and you'd be like, hi, I'd like to register to vote. And then from this giant list of questions, he would then choose, or he or she would then choose what question to ask. And some of them go from what number of states are there in the union to what is the square mileage of the county right of us.
Yeah.
And so how that would work then is the individual, I was asking these questions, if an African American showed up, they would ask the most difficult and offensive question they
Mm-hmm.
could, that no one has a chance of getting correct. And because of that, off that question, they would then be deemed uneligible to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, I'm getting off my soapbox, but these are some examples of how they used to do this. And that all changed when they passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964.
You say it all changed. They had to get more creative.
Well, yes, but what happened in that, it made all provisions that limited or dealt with elections, electability, enfranchisement, all of that had to be approved through the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what happened in the early 90s was that court cases started coming up that challenged these things. And basically the justification is that, it is now, it's been 30, 40 years since we, had the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
Racism doesn't exist in America anymore, so there's no need for these laws.
Yeah. Oh, God, what was that court case? There was a Supreme Court case.
It was. It was 1991.
I want to say, I don't remember. But yeah, I mean, that was the majority opinion handed down was we fixed racial discrimination in voting in this country, so why still have these laws? And yeah, absolutely ridiculous. So voter suppression is still occurring today. It's taken on a bunch of new forms, as we've kind of alluded to. One of these being what's happening down in Georgia right now. So in an effort to register more people to vote, point blank period, Stacey Abrams either founded or belongs to this nonprofit organization which does really great community outreach in registering people to vote, as well as just organizing and activating members of communities that have needs that could be addressed politically. Brian Kemp's office, Secretary of State Brian Kemp, his office has been rejecting or putting on, quote unquote, on pending a lot of these registration forms because, I mean, their formal excuses, they've been filled out sloppily or they need to be subjected to an exact match for other signatures, because all a voter registration form is your identifying driver's license or some other identifying material that says, yes, I do live in this state, and essentially a signature and an address. What they then do is the Office of the Secretary of State will cross-reference that with other government documents they have on file, and say yes or no, this signature does match up, and this is a legitimate registration, and it'll go on from there. They're holding, and it's some ridiculous number of like close to 100,000, if not more.
It's like 75, 80,000.
Yeah, so less than 100,000, but still 75, 80,000 in pending. And they're like, oh, we need to double check all these signatures to make sure they're exactly right with 18 days left to go. So technically speaking, these people can still vote if their registration is put through in time. Their registration forms haven't been rejected, but if they're still in pending when they show up to vote, it's not a guarantee that they're going to be on the roster.
And the major aspect of this is the fact that 70% of those voter registrations that are being impounded belong to African Americans.
Yep.
And this has been seen nationally as this movement to disenfranchise the base of Stacey Abrams.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unthinkable that
Yeah.
we could see this kind of voter suppression and blatant racism.
Yeah.
'Cause that's what this is. In the 21st century, that we could see it, and the fact that this hasn't been brought up to the Supreme Court yet. This hasn't been touched by any kind of national movement, just beyond just pundits and people like us talking about it.
Yeah.
And kind of it hasn't existed.
And there was even something else I saw either today or yesterday that was a story related to the same case. It said there are even more being held. No, it was actually, there's been a history out of his office of purging people off voter rolls because they haven't been voting, which is, again, it's another pretty active tactic that's been used in voter suppression of like, oh, these people haven't voted. So the Secretary of State's office has the job duty to maintain the voter rolls. And so one of the duties that they have is to take people off that are either dead or have moved. And people don't always report that kind of stuff when that happens. So they have every right to look at, the rolls and say, okay, presumably this person's dead or this person has moved. Now, traditionally, before they kick them off, what they're supposed to do is verify that somehow. They've been blanketly kicking people off. And again, the statistic is something like an overwhelming amount of the people they've been just summarily writing off the ballot have been African Americans.
Yeah, there was a Supreme Court case, and this is real quick. Justice Kennedy, who recently, former Justice Kennedy.
God rest his soul.
Oh my God. Right. So the longtime balancer of the Supreme Court, right before one of the last decisions he made before he announced his resignation was to allow voters, basically allow states to purge voters off of voter rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And places like Ohio did this recently, and Georgia, and it basically has allowed them to disenfranchise thousands, if not millions, of Americans,
Right.
Based on people not voting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this was in any way, shape, or form their intention, but some countries that have mandatory voting basically make it so people that haven't voted in a while actually will lose their right to vote.
Yeah.
Like in Australia with mandatory voting.
Well, you get fined. I don't know if you lose the right to vote. You just get fined.
You don't vote 4 times.
Oh.
You don't vote for 4 times, and you lose the right.
Well,
Which is
I
interesting.
don't know.
But
It's an interesting approach to democracy. Again, we can look at how, our stupid voting rules here in America hurt certain demographics more because we don't have it as a holiday and it's in the middle of a Tuesday. But again, if we put Democrats in office, we can potentially make Fat Tuesday a national holiday. Fat Tuesday, Voting Tuesday, a national holiday, and give you the day off so you can go vote. I don't know.
But when we get back into it, we're going to quickly cover the races we said we would, and then get into our political science topic of the day.
So, stay tuned. Just keep the recordings going.
All right. What I've been doing is genius. Is I've been turning down the input when I'm not speaking, so it doesn't pick up anything.
Yeah, that is nice. You do have that ability.
Yeah.
Q.
Cool.
Cool.
I think our Canada topic is probably our weakest.
I mean, that's funny.
Well,
yeah, bring attention to it. That's something that Democrats care about. I need to be recording that actually. So we're like 25 seconds behind where the film is actually at. So, what do we got next?
Then we're gonna quickly do Florida again.
Okay, we can talk about.
Update people. It'll be like a news segment.
Yeah,
basically.
that's fine.
Florida, and then we'll do Wisconsin and then Kansas quickly.
Okay,
And
sure.
if you want to jump on your soapbox for Kansas, I'm all down
Oh, I'm always down to jump on a soapbox.
Cool.
Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. All right, so our first state we're going to cover quickly is Florida, as we mentioned. So down in the Sunshine State, Andrew Gillum, the Democrat, is running against Ron DeSantis, who's a Republican, and probably one of the creepiest individuals that we've had running in office.
That's a bold accusation.
Well, I say this because he released first off, he's racist.
Yeah.
He's really going to monkey this up.
Fits the bill, check.
Exactly.
It's going to monkey this up.
Well, that was his thing. He said that, he hoped the people of Florida didn't monkey the election up.
Right.
So
That's
Andrew
that
Gillum,
guy.
Yeah, that's that guy. Andrew Gillum is an African American, and monkey this up is not a phrase that people say ever.
No.
I'm gonna quote Away with Words on NPR real quick. It's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
So what that means
Almost
is that
like
Ron DeSantis definitely had other implications when he said, "Let's not monkey this up."
Weird.
So, anyways, but he also released a campaign ad not too long ago, and it basically started off with his wife being like, "Hey, Ron DeSantis is not only a great Republican, he's also a great father." And then it showed Ron with all of his 3 children. He was in the first one. He's building a wall with his son out of blocks, and he's like, "Oh, Mr. Trump says build the wall."
Well, it's like the entire ad, he's like reading a children's book, basically. It's like,
so creepy.
our savior Trump says build a wall.
Exactly. It's like,
It's
oh,
disgusting.
yes, Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. It's him pandering to the Trump base through showing that he's indoctrinating his children.
Yeah, it's messed up.
I mean, I have a firmly held belief that children should not be used for political means
No.
to any ends, but like especially not to this degree.
I mean, it was reminiscent of like back in like during the like Camp Jesus, with people pledging allegiance to a cardboard cutout of George W. Bush.
Wow, I would love to hear more about that because I have no idea what that's about.
Guys, the South is a crazy place.
Jesus. But so this is kind of the part that fascinates me about this, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it's the Republican attitude right now, or at least in a lot of places the Republican strategy is to run as Donald Trump, which fascinates me because if you look at everything, if you look at any poll, granted, I'm not one to follow polls religiously, but we know statistically that the Trump base is not more than like 33% of the Republican Party even. No, it's not like 36. It's nothing like 36. It's like maybe 35, maybe a 37, but it's not like the 36. No, it baffles me, though, because we have, again, statistic evidence to suggest that Republicans can be more successful if they run. I don't even want to say more moderate than Trump. But if they don't run like Trump, they have a much better chance of getting on the fence Democrats, because God knows people are actively fleeing our party right now. But also moderate Republicans who can say, or even conservative Republicans that look at Trump and say, I don't want that. I mean, we see Andrew, not Andrew Gillum. We see, what was his name again? Ron DeSantis. We see him doing this. We see Chris Kobach doing this. Republicans up and down the ballot in just about every state taking this approach, and I'll be so curious to see if it plays out in 2018.
And like a lot of criticism sometimes is the fact that like these races are not about the people; they're about like people voting on like the Trump message,
Right.
And Trump, like it's not a referendum on the state; it's a referendum on the president, and largely it basically is though because these people they emulate and they act like Trump.
Yeah, they frame it that way.
Yeah, they don't.
In all
they
honesty,
don't want to be their own person. They want to be seen and associated as closely with Trump as possible. And for the most part, we've seen, especially in a lot of the special elections and all this stuff, that doesn't work. They lose.
it really hasn't worked so far.
Yeah. So
We've been doing a good job in the specials. Yeah.
exactly. So to bring it back, basically things are. It is an extremely close race down in Florida. Currently, Gillum is up like 1%, but it's well within the margin of error.
Yeah.
And so, we see that it's recently got a heck of a lot closer, but it's been a pretty volatile and pretty close race this whole time. And so it will really, really be a close one. We'll be watching. So.
Yeah. So when everyone started talking about 2018 being this big blue wave, I took issue with that for a number of reasons, but I think 18 days from election, we see these contentious races, like in Florida, like here in Missouri with the senatorial campaign, in Kansas with the gubernatorial campaign. We have Republicans that are running Trump light, and we convinced ourselves at some point that the Democrats are going to come out in huge numbers to vote for these people. But in all three of these instances, they're dead heats right now between good Democrats and Trump Republicans. So, I mean, I've always been critical of this blue wave, but I don't know. I'm kind of pessimistic about the blue wave. I do think Democrats are going to show out in record numbers. I mean, for Christ's sake, just the electorate showing out in record numbers for this election in sizes that a midterm hasn't seen since I don't even know how long. The 50s or 60s was one report that I was seeing. I don't know, Adam. I don't know.
Largely, I think the blue wave, the highest, the contingent upon it is going to be the fact that we need high voter turnout to see it happen, and that's going to be the deciding factor.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Democratic Party by numbers is much larger than the Republican Party.
Yeah.
The Republican Party just happens to be much more active than we are.
Yes, it's just the fact that old people turn out to vote.
It's true.
We need to change this.
Yeah, I don't.
36%. I want to see this at like the 65%.
Right.
Because that's what it really should be.
Yeah.
I don't think that any more than like 35 to 40% of people our age actually like align on the map more with conservative values. Like I think our world is the way we've been raised and the world by which we've been raised in has really shown, and really basically what it has done is it has socialized everyone into the fact, in our generation, to really see things as not some old retrospective conservative lens. It shows in the globalized era by which we've been raised, it shows that we need outward approaches that address not only our issues but issues of everyone.
Yeah, it's this whole approach of we exist in a global society. I mean, you and I have never known anything other than America existing in a global society. So isolationism isn't really. I mean, you talk about isolationism, and it really does feel like a product of the 20s and 30s, and we know how that played out. World War II happened.
Yeah, and I think also largely we have not been raised in the era of American exceptionalism.
Right.
And that's the major thing.
Yeah.
The baby boomers all got the greatest generation was before them, and World War I, World War II. Those are people that maybe knew growing up.
Well, yeah, it was the Reagan era that instilled all of this.
Well, and I think that even like people have become so cynical of government and throughout the ages, but I think that with that cynicism has in our generation sprung this new era of hope and optimism, because the world is against us, especially as young people. Like, this is not the time by which we need to be that this should be set out for us.
Right.
So
yeah, well, I think this segues nicely into our political science topic for the week. We'll get back to it. That was a nice segue. I want to capitalize on this segue. We'll get back to it. So our political science topic this week deals with, it was inspired by the headlines and everything going on with Khashoggi and Saudi Arabia and our political deference to authoritarian dictatorships, and how our president is more keen to believe Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia than he is to believe his own domestic intelligence services. This is the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, maybe dozenth time that we have seen the president go into a meeting or get done with a conversation with an authoritarian dictator and come out of it saying, I know my intelligence community told me all of these things that person did, but they seemed pretty honest when they denied all of it straight to my face, so I'm going to believe them over the mountain of evidence. And that's where we're at right now. So can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so basically just give the backstory real quick. Jamal Khashoggi was a journalist and a critic of the Saudi Arabian regime and Crown Prince.
Good luck. I wouldn't touch it.
This abbreviation. I MBS.
MBS.
Which is Mohammed bin Salam. That's
Oh,
his name.
that's okay.
Nice and easy. But MBS basically is this this acronym by which he's been going by. Anyway,
Edgy.
So Jamal Khashoggi has been in the United States in like self-imposed exile for a long time. He's in the UK right before, then traveling to Turkey while he was doing some story, and he would pick up documents, and so he goes to the Saudi consulate in Turkey and is never seen again.
Right.
And what occurred, according to the Turkish government, who has audio and video recordings of what actually occurred, was that a 15-man Saudi Arabian hit squad, including one of the personal bodyguards of the Crown Prince, showed up and murdered him with a bone saw.
Yeah. Well, that's how they chopped up his body. They just
they
beat the living
him.
daylights out of him, and then
they chopped him up.
Yeah.
And then scattered his remains, possibly in the Belgrade forest, which is just north of Istanbul.
Yeah.
And so currently what's going on is there's a large amount of Turkish police searching in that forest. The Turkish police also instantly, because they knew about this, but they sat on it for 5 days. They instantly, the moment they knew that what had occurred, sent a bunch of policemen dressed up as airport officials to the airport to go actually search the plane and the Saudi hit squad.
Yeah. Intercept some of them.
Exactly, but all of them are back in.
Well, they got one of them, didn't they? I thought one of them got arrested.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But basically what this means, how this has played out is that basically Turkey and the United States kind of gave Saudi Arabia some time to explain, what happened and that kind of thing. And what happened was Saudi Arabia denied it outright and said that all these men were tourists and that they were not there for some kind of secret, special attack and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, they were just hanging out at the embassy, as one is prone to do.
Yeah, and another thing was that this was also shown, this is the same excuse that the two Russian spies that used the nerve agent to kill a former Russian operative in...
There's an attempted attack. He survived. He and his daughter both survived.
Yes, they did survive, but they, the two of them were like, oh yes, we are just tourists. So
Yeah, right.
Talk about.
Right. I mean, it was the same. Putin took the same approach. Denied outright. Then there was the excuses, which Saudi Arabia was getting into. Like, that was the next step. They denied outright.
And then they were like, oh, the interrogation went drastically wrong.
Yeah.
I almost did that in a Russian accent.
Yeah, but it goes from, they're nobody. They're tourists. And then they're like, well, they were police and they arrested him. And it was an interrogation that kind of went wrong. And now it's like, maybe he's dead. Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Yeah.
They also have footage of cleaning crews coming in after this occurred, and
it's a mess. And I mean, the bone of contention here, the biggest problem I would say here, is that was Khashoggi a U.S. citizen? No, but he was lawfully a resident of the United States, working for the Washington Post as a columnist. He was, by all means, lawful employee of the United States of America. Better yet, he was a human being
and a member of the Free Press
that was murdered in cold blood by a government that he was critical of.
Yeah.
And then they buried him and attempted to bury the story. And our president's going to let him get away with it.
Yeah. Why? Because we have a $450 billion arms deal with Saudi Arabia set up in the next month.
Well, that and Trump personally has a lot to gain from Saudi Arabia. I mean, he's attempting to, put up a Trump Tower? There's some real estate deal that's going on.
The fact that the Crown Prince came out and said that Jared Kushner was in his pocket.
That too. That too.
Jared Kushner is also our unofficial Saudi Arabian ambassador. He is largely in debt to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Which, also, there's good evidence that that Trump is as well.
Yeah.
And that there's some Trump organization, ties to Saudi oil and other forms of like these kind of dark money, international we have. So.
And that credit where it's due, that might even be the more cynical approach to take, that he is beholden to the Saudi Arabian government. But I mean, at the very least, our president has shown time and time again that he's at least deferential to authoritarian leaders over, again, his own intelligence community.
Yeah, it's just, you see that, Saudi Arabia has a history of, oppressing the free press, but nothing that was ever this blatant or tied to the United States.
Right. Nothing that was so obvious against the United States.
So, and the biggest aspect of this is that it's ridiculous that as, one of the wealthy, the second most wealthy country in the world, we are here excusing the murder of journalists because we want to make an arms deal.
Yeah.
So, Brett, is it acceptable for us to excuse the blatant misuse of power and murder of a de facto United States citizen?
No.
For an arms deal?
No, Adam. Quite frankly, it's not.
I didn't think the ends
No.
justify this meeting.
No. So we talked about, I don't know, some point in the past, maybe it was last week, maybe it was other weeks. Democrats, and as we talked about earlier, people in this generation, kiddos our age,
36%.
see each other as belonging to a global community. And we've spoken about how through the UN and things like that the preferred approach in the 21st century and modern day is to exist in the global community and to exist and operate under diplomatic means and diplomatic ties. You avoid war this way. You create trade deals this way. You become a more prosperous nation, and you can contribute healthily to, or you can contribute in a healthy manner to the global community. Now, there's a limitation to that. Liberalism, which is this concept of existing and interacting with the global community through diplomacy, has its limits. Its limits come, basically, the line is drawn in the sand that you cannot excuse human rights violations or direct affronts to your civilization and your society. You cannot ignore that because of diplomatic ties. Now, diplomatic ties in this case happen to be trade deals, arms deals, business ties to this community. It is inexcusable under any sort of circumstance, cynically or not, it is inexcusable to ignore these kinds of things because you have something to gain from it. I don't care if you're Trump. I don't care if you're Barack Obama. If this was to happen under any sort of administration, this is a clear line where liberalism needs to stop, and realism, the concept of going after people with guns and things, we need to be more forceful to this. We cannot excuse this because we see that we might have something to gain out of it.
Yeah, and the administration, our Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin.
God, he's still around. I forgot about that.
He recently, he was still planning on going to this economic meeting in Saudi Arabia, which a bunch of United States companies and other national corporations came out and said that they were not going to because of what occurred.
Right.
Such as Ford.
A lot of banks pulled out of it too.
A lot of
yeah.
And because of and this backlash, by the international community was seen, and they different corporations and everything. But the United States, for up until 2 days ago, was still planning on attending.
Yeah.
But they thankfully made the rational decision not to do that.
Yeah.
And so we see, in some regard, this isn't backlash. We're still having this deal with Saudi Arabia, this $450 million, billion, worth of arms, that kind of thing. And Trump, the other day, or not the other day, but a while ago when he had his last meeting with the Crown Prince, had this really cheaply made diagram of a ship and how many they're buying and how much it's going to be worth. And he pulled it out and basically used the Crown Prince as an easel for showing us all of these different things. And my favorite, and this was pointed out on the Daily Show, is frigates. When Trump was like, yes, we're selling 3 frigates, and he really over-enunciated this word. And it's like when he gave the speech at the United Nations and kept saying sovereignty. It's like when Trump learns a new word.
Yeah.
By pronouncing it louder than all the rest.
Yeah.
And so,
God.
On a light note, the Crown Prince is used by an easel by Trump. But,
yeah, and I want to point out something. So to kind of clarify where the limitations of liberalism are and where realism begin, I think a great example of how liberalism works is the corporations stepping up, the banks stepping up, taking initiative and saying, we're not going to participate in this because of what happened. That's an example of how you flex your muscles in a liberal manner by offering, or I don't even say retaliating, but by showing that there are consequences to actions and that you can lose out on these things economically. I think that's a great thing. I think the corporations doing that, I think if our government was capable of making that step, that would be a great step in the right direction. However, one of the biggest things that Barack Obama was criticized on was not acting when it was appropriate and necessary to in cases of foreign diplomacy or of foreign relations, international relations. I think this is one of those examples. Now, do we start a land war in Saudi Arabia? No. I don't think we should put boots on the ground. I don't think the answer to this is to go shoot some of their journalists that live here now. But we need to be able to send, especially from our executive, we need to be able to send a clear message that this is inexcusable and we will not stand for this. And it's just not happening.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best ways we could do this is Saudi Arabia is beholden to, or the leader of OPEC, and oil is a major aspect of their economy and their business. And basically, like, in recent times, Saudi Arabia has become more globalized and has turned that regard.
Yeah.
A really great example of this that's going to be very niche is the Formula E corporation. Which
I have a feeling you might tie something into the racing here.
Racing league that uses fully electric cars.
Yep.
Like Formula E is what it's called. And their first race of next year is actually going to be held in Saudi Arabia in December. And I've been keeping tabs on the news, and nothing's been done about this.
Right.
And while I haven't had much faith in a European, Spanish business multi-billionaire that owns the company, owns the CEO of the racing league,
right,
changing that fact, it's been surprising to me that there hasn't been any form. That this. First off, I was surprised to see that it was occurring, but it makes a lot of sense in regards to this quote unquote opening up of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that Saudi Arabia will hopefully learn from the small amount of retaliation that has occurred from this, the fact that
minimal
they're
amounts,
no longer
minimal
able
amounts
to operate in the way that they have been without seeing economic blowback. And the best way we could do this is by employing sanctions upon Saudi Arabia, which is something we're not going to be doing.
No, we're not. So what we should do, we should go green to own Saudi Arabia. Send them a message by going 100% environmentally friendly. You heard me, Republicans. If you want to get back at the Saudis, who I know you hated like 3-4 years ago, get those wind turbines built. I'll support Formula E as a retaliation to Saudi Arabia.
I'd like to see them not race there, despite the fact that the race is real good.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them not do that.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's really annoying. So you have 18 days, people. You have 18 days to get to the polls. Though the legislature does not act on part of the president, we can start to hold people accountable. And maybe we could even get some Republicans in office who are willing to speak out against this. Because I don't know anyone that has. I don't know any Republicans that have.
Another thing is the fact that the Republicans have become complicit to Trump. And we talked about this before, but especially in forms of foreign policy, you don't see Republicans coming out against Russia like you did during the campaign.
No.
Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, came out during the campaign and was like, I do not support Trump not attacking Russia. Russia is a threat to the United States. And what has he said since?
I don't know, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, there used to be a really big Republican standpoint was being hard on Russia.
Exactly.
They were terrified of John McCain because of it.
Like, we hate communism. You know who was once communist?
Russia.
So it's just like the hypocrisy that has been shown and the complicity by the Republican Party to go along with what Trump says in regards to foreign policy is
true.
sickening.
It's true. It's true.
Fuckers.
Yeah. So, November 6th. It's coming up. Yeah. Go vote. Go vote for Democrats.
Do it.
I don't even care about moderate Republicans. Just go vote for Democrats. Make it easy. Simple choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. Next week, we're going to talk a lot more about ballot initiatives here in Missouri. We're going to talk a little bit more about the election because guess what? At that point, it's going to be about a week away. Yeah. A little over a week away.
Look forward to our first special episode.
Oh, yeah.
We're starting a new series, just special episodes we're going to be putting about the Democratic Party. And so get prepared for that.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Good time.
So, thank you so much for tuning in this week.
This has been
The 36%. And I mean, you don't even have to pause it. We can just get into the. If you want
I just was scrolling up quickly.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to get into the buggy and outro. I'll see if I can't remember who we think.
There we are. The 36% was founded, written, and directed by Adam Childers Arnold and Brett Combs.
Our presenting sponsor is, as always, Avian Apparel.
Music provided by Purple Planet. Check them out at www.purpleplanet.com.
Our audio engineering is done by Burnt Crumbs.
Our ukulele muse is Adam California.
And special thanks to all of you for tuning in. My name's Brett.
My name's Adam. Also, thank you, Christian Ferguson, for doing our cover art.
Shit, I forgot that. All right. Well, my name's Brett.
And I'm Adam.
Thank you so much for listening to the 36%.